Good evening, and welcome to the April edition of League of Women Voters Presents, the monthly public affairs show about issues important to Central Missouri and beyond. My name is Randy Picht. I'm the executive director of the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute at the Missouri School of Journalism, and I'm your host. Tonight, we're going to be talking about farming. We're going to be talking about what has become an annual battle regarding the future of the landscape of farming in Missouri, and actually the future of the landscape of Missouri, really, when you get right down to it. And I have a terrific panel with me tonight to talk about the issue. I'm going to let them all introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. And let me say that the topic tonight is CAFO, and maybe you don't know what that stands for, but I think our first guest will fill us in.
Thank you, Randy, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters and everybody that made this possible. My name's Tim Gibbons. I'm with the Missouri Rural Crisis Center. We're a statewide farm and rural organization. We've been around since 1985. We originated through the farm crisis, farmers organizing to help family farmers stay on the farm. And since then, we've been working to support family farmers and specifically independent livestock production in Missouri, because we know how important that is, not only to farm families, but also to our rural communities and our rural economies and our food system and increasingly our democratic process. The Missouri Rural Crisis Center, with that, we have had to fight against the industrialization of the livestock industry. We don't call it farming, it's industry. And with the industrialization of the livestock industry also came the vertical integration and monopolization of the livestock industry. And with that, family farmers have been put out of business. As an example, we use hogs as an example a lot because hogs used to be the lifeblood of our rural communities. In 1985, we had 23,000 hog farmers in Missouri, and those dollars would circulate locally, and Main Street would support independent production of hogs. We'd have slaughterhouses and many rural main streets, and they were mortgage lifters. You could flip hogs quick, and you didn't have to have a lot of land, and you could pay off your debt. And with the industrialization of the hog industry, what we've seen is that family farmers have been put out of business, and it's not because family farmers don't want to raise hogs. It's because the market has been taken from them. And the market was taken from them by corporations that run these CAFOs, or concentrated animal feeding operations. What is a CAFO? A CAFO is, by definition, is an operation that has 1,000 animal units,
Okay.
and and the animals are raised in confinement. 1,000 animal units is different for different species. 1,000 animal units for hogs is 2,500 hogs, 2,500 hogs. A CAFO for beef cattle is 1,000 beef cattle. A CAFO for broiler chickens is 125,000 broiler chickens. There's a narrative out there that industrialization was inevitable, and it's because they're more efficient. And that's not true. It's because policies have been created, and policies have not been created by the lobbyists that walk the halls in Jeff City and in Washington, D.C., for these CAFO corporations. 4 corporations control 70% of the hog slaughter. Four multinational corporations control 70%
In Missouri?
in the country.
In the country.
Mm-hmm. JBS is a Brazilian company. They control 24. Smithfield is a Chinese company. They control 25. And then the rest is made up by Tyson and Hormel. And we're fighting for the independent cattle producer because they're coming after them too. They've tried and they're trying hard to capture the cattle marketplace. 90% of our cattle are killed by 4 companies. 2 of them are also foreign. And that's why we fight so hard for local control. With CAFOs come local control. And local control is the ability of our local elected representatives to fight for the ability to protect their constituents, family farmers like Jeff Jones, and rural citizens like Tena Potts, to be able to stand up against these absentee-controlled multinational corporations trying to cite their hogs, thousands of them, next to farms and next to rural people that have been there for generations. And we can go into that a little bit more, but we're fighting right now with the state capitol for local control once again. And all I'm asking, what I would ask people to do, and what the League of Women Voters do so well, is organize people and energize people into realizing that this democracy is ours and we need to fight for it. And there's lots of ways we can do that, and fighting for independent family farms and fighting for sustainable, vibrant rural communities and rural economies is important to our country in general.
Great. Okay, that's a great scene setter. So, Tena, can we turn to you and maybe you tell us a little bit about how long you've been involved with thinking about CAFOs and how you got involved to think
Certainly.
about CAFOs?
My name is Tena Potts. We have a farm of 500 acres. We have a cow-calf operation of about 100 cows. And
where is that?
in Cooper County.
Okay.
And our little neighborhood was just sitting there minding our own business, like sitting ducks, just enjoying our fresh air and our sunshine and clean water. And about the second week in January, I believe 3 neighbors got notices, registered letters, saying that there was going to be a 7,000 sow pig operation come in right in our neighborhood.
So that was just a couple of months ago.
January.
Okay.
So our neighborhood has been living and breathing this since January. The permit went to DNR and it was stamped January the 31st. And so we have just been cramming ourselves with information, and the reason I'm here is just to share our story, whatever you would like to know about our exact experience. We've been in contact with Tim. He has helped us. There is another group called Socially Responsible Ag Project. We have talked with them. We have enlisted their help. We've had several meetings, and we met with our health department in our county, and we met with the commissioners, and we're at the point now to where we are going to have a public meeting next week. It's gone through the comment period, and we'll be participating in a public meeting next week.
Okay, great. All right, so Jeff, tell us about your farm and where you are. Introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you all for having us. My name's Jeff Jones. I'm a 4th generation traditional family farmer, born and raised in Callaway County. And I was very fortunate when I was growing up. I got to be my grandfather on both sides of my family. They're Shatta. They both were born and raised in Callaway County and farmed also. And they taught me from little on up to be a steward of the soil. And to be a steward of the soil, we're not talking about just the dirt. We're talking about trying to take care of everything that helps come from that dirt, whether it be the next generation of kids, the water, the air, the communities around us. Everything together has to prosper for the community to pull together and keep doing well. And in 1993, we had a CAFO that started west of where I live. It's about a mile, and it came about with the idea that it was going to be a lot larger than what it is. It was going to be on limited acres, and it was going to produce more pollution than all the city of Columbia put together. And our community organized and had meetings, and the individual that was going to do this decided to back out and just do 8 buildings. And they house approximately 700 finishing hogs, so there's 5,600 hogs in this CAFO, and it's got outdoor lagoons, and it's had a negative impact on the community ever since the first day that it opened. And in 2000, I think it was 14, they had a terrible spill, ran thousands of gallons of pollution down the creek, and there's been other spills also. And so in 2014, this same outfit joined together with, the fellow's name is David Eichelberger out of Wayland, Iowa, and they were going to come down and open up a 10,000 sow operation 3/10 of a mile from my house. Well, years ago when this other operation had started, they said that they signed a contract with the community members. It was kind of an agreement that they would not put another hog within 5 miles of that existing CAFO. Well, this is less than 2 miles from this CAFO, and it's the same people that's wanting to start this 10,000 operation. And that was 2014. So the community came back together, and our name is the Friends of Responsible Agriculture, and I'm the president of that. And we've united strongly to keep the operating permit from being put in the hands of these people to where they could go forward. When David Eichelberger came down to my driveway, this has been back, I guess, probably about the time this all started in 2014, he said, I want to see if you really are who lives here. And I shook hands with him, and my dad was there and my daughter was there. And I explained to him, I said, I don't know you from anybody, but I'm going to treat you as a friend. And I'm going to tell you that anytime you bring those large operations in, you've got to get them away from the people. You can't have the people and the animals competing for our natural resources. It'll never work. He has 2 smaller CAFOs just on the north side of the interstate. Nobody knew much about them because they came in under the radar, under the numbers that they didn't have to put out very many comments to the neighbors. And I told him, I said, every time you come down here, I said, I'm going to shine a light on you so that everybody knows what's going on. I said, we've got a lot of signatures that are put together in a petition. I said, there's an agreement that was signed back from 1993. And I said, you're having a face-to-face confrontation that you don't have to read my mind. I stand against this 100%. I said, does any of this have any impact? He said, no, none of this really has much impact. I'm coming forward, and there's nothing you can do to hold us back. And so we've been battling this since 2014. As of today, they're not there.
And let me say, this attitude of if you don't like it, you can move, which we hear a lot. I mean, that's what we hear when these operations move in. It's not what you grew up doing, right?
No,
I mean,
we want to help our neighbors. That's
exactly
the way we grew up.
Right.
We want to get along and help our neighbors.
Yeah, and these operations, they don't care.
And David Eichelberger said one other thing. He said, nobody wants to live next to one of these. And I said, so why would you bring that down here next to my home and my family and my community? That makes no sense.
The people who are listening, I'm not sure quite understand how much waste is generated. The hog operation that is coming next to us is 7,000 sows. They will use 25,000 gallons of water per day. This will be stored in cement lagoons underneath these huge barns, which means these are huge cement ponds, 10 feet deep. They're made out of concrete. There's no concrete in Monitor or Cooper County that hasn't cracked. I don't know how they're going to keep that from seeping. I don't understand that. But there's going to be 8.4 million gallons of hog waste. That is hog manure, water, antibiotics, disinfectant. Anything that is used up above gets washed down in these huge pits. And then those they have to clean that out. It has to go someplace because there's that 25,000 gallons is added per day.
And
So you've got to get rid of that.
Is a year or a month?
Per year.
A year. Okay.
Per year.
Right.
8.4 million gallons of waste per year.
So these buildings have slatted floors, and all the effluent goes down into the floors, and they flush them out once or twice a year. Pipestone, how many acres are they proposing to buy?
20 acres.
20 acres.
And what is Pipestone?
Pipestone is it's sort of a new sort of outfit because they're not production contracts. There's nobody local that is running this thing.
It's an LLC.
It's an LLC,
Okay.
and they're out of southern Minnesota. They're called Pipestone Management Systems, and they stack LLC on top of LLC so that they can hugely limit their liability, almost to no liability at all. And then they're coming down. They buy 20 acres. They attempted to put one in North Howard County. They attempted to put one in North Cooper County, and now in southern Cooper County, where Tena lives, they're attempting to put one. And they're export-only operations. So when they're filing a permit, there's a little checkbox at the bottom of the first page that says, is this going to be an export-only operation? And they check yes. And what that means is they can buy 20 acres. They export the waste. Once they flush the lagoon out, the deep pit system, they export the waste to somebody else. Who that is, it could be another LLC. It could be a waste applicator. But what that does is then they don't have to follow the CAFO rules in Missouri. And the CAFO rules are already lax. For example, in Missouri, you can spread waste with aerial application, sprinkler systems. You can spread waste within 50 feet of somebody's property. You can spread waste within 300 feet of a well or a public drinking source or spring. When they do export-only operations, they don't have to follow those rules. So it limits their liability even more, and it allows them to put at risk the clean water, which down in Cooper County, how do you guys get your water from wells?
Everybody does. Plus, this particular area, within, I believe, a mile, there are 14 natural springs. And there are some just right across the fence from where this is going to be. And there is a working well, that is less than 300 feet from where the barn is going to sit. And we checked the water, and it is within 20 to 30 feet of ground level in that well. And the pit's going to be 10 feet down. So you're talking 10 feet away from the water itself that we all drink.
Same scenario in Callaway. Same way. So I asked David Eichelberger, I said, why are you wanting to come down here? Missouri has the cleanest water. I think we're in the top 10 of the entire nation. And in Callaway County, it ranks in the top 10% of the nation. And we just have a very clean environment. And Iowa is so saturated with swine and pollution that they've got to spread those animals out because of the disease and the issues they're having. So they're hunting places like Missouri that has a clean environment. We don't want that happening to Missouri. We're proud of all the natural environment that we have here and the way we've taken care of it, and we don't want to see it digressed. Once this water and air is polluted, you can't clean it back out. They're spending millions of dollars trying, but it'll never be as clean as what it was initially before they started.
And you can go to the DNR website of Iowa and look at all of the impaired waterways.
They've got 10,000. They got between 10,000 and 14,000 CAFOs in Iowa.
And how many are in Missouri?
There are 500 in Missouri.
500, and in Iowa 10,000. So how come?
One of the reasons is we have local control.
Okay.
So and like I was
people like
people
Jeff
being people being able to go to their county commissioners, and their county commissioners being able to pass health ordinances.
And there are 19 counties in Missouri that do have health ordinances.
Rural counties, and I must point this out just really quickly. These are livestock producers. We're an organization full of livestock producers, cattle farmers. We have some hog farmers that still raise hogs. A lot of them would still like to raise hogs. The market's been taken. But these are cattle operators that understand livestock.
Well, all of our neighbors are farmers.
Right.
We all are.
So now health ordinance, 19 counties. What does that mean? What is that? Why is that a good thing?
Why it's a good thing? Well, first of all, because it allows local people to be able to determine what type of industry or if they want to have corporate agriculture in their county.
Okay.
But what they do specifically is they're really common sense. They increase setbacks from people's houses. They increase setbacks from CAFOs in people's houses. They increase setbacks from populated areas. So if you have a cluster of people living in an area, it's setbacks from that. It's setbacks on land application of the manure from water sources, from wells. It requires them to knife the manure into the ground as opposed to spraying it with a center pivot.
So then that county's probably not as attractive for a CAFO.
That's correct.
Right?
You said it just right.
And does Cooper County have a health ordinance?
No.
Does Callaway County?
We do not have one, but we're trying real hard to get one into play. We are hoping to have one. The commissioners are supposed to get back with the citizens committee that gave a recommendation for a health ordinance, and we're still waiting for the answer on that.
And let me say, at the legislature for 15 years, corporate livestock interests have tried to take away local control from local people. They realize that local people have power, and local democracy is important to all of us in Missouri, and we cherish that. And 19 counties, rural counties, have specifically around CAFO areas like North Missouri, have a lot of health ordinances up there. And for 15 years, family farmers, independent livestock producers, rural citizens, and local elected representatives have stood up and said no, but they're doing it again this year. And there's not only a bill introduced to try to just strip local control in entirety, but there's House Bill 1614 and Senate Bill 627 right now, which says that fertilizer cannot be regulated locally. And fertilizer is manipulated animal waste. So not only are they trying to usurp local control in entirety, but they're also trying to pick different parts of health ordinances, pick the health ordinances apart. Because if people don't have the ability to stand up, it's a lot harder to organize against these type of operations moving in.
Yeah, they make it harder.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of have three different aspects here. Someone who's been doing it for a long time, someone who's just kind of getting into it, and Tim, you've kind of see it from every different aspect. So maybe each of you could kind of just tell me where things stand in terms of your own situation. Maybe Jeff, you want to start in terms of you're trying to get that health ordinance, but what are some of the other things? It seems like this is a daily part of your farming day, unfortunately.
It is, and this has been really a challenge for me because I was brought up that you always help your neighbor. You always try to get along with your neighbor. If they need something and you have it, you give it to them to help them get through. And with what we have going on now, there's individuals out there that are selling out to money and not thinking about others. And I was taught that we farm to help others,
Right.
not to hurt others. Well, when you're making decisions only for money, you're going to hurt a lot of people in the path of money.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to make good decisions, and you've got to be sure that your family and your community and everybody around you is going to prosper when you make these decisions. And when you have out-of-state companies and out-of-country companies coming in here, and they don't live in this area, and they're fighting to take over, they're not doing it in the best interest of the state of Missouri or Callaway County or Johnson County or Trenton County. They're doing it just for the wake of money. And we've got to be real careful of that because things have changed. And so we're trying real hard, the Friends of Responsible Agriculture, to educate people through our eyes what we've had to live through since 1993 and 2014 with the second outfit coming through. And they still haven't built, but they just have been approved for the permit. It has been accepted, and up to this point we've been able to keep that permit away. But it happened through the changes beyond our control, whether it be through the Clean Water Commission legislation, blocking the commissioner's ability to have the people's voice. I mean, we had close to 1,800 signatures that were given to our commissioners, but yet we don't have a health ordinance. Well, why aren't they listening to the 1,800 signatures? Right. Everybody's got to scratch their head and wonder why, if the people's voice is so strong, do we not have a health ordinance already into place? A health ordinance is like putting a watchdog on the front porch.
Right.
Without a health ordinance, it's like opening your door to the CAFOs.
Yeah. All right. And Tina, you're just kind of getting started.
Ours is slightly different than his. I believe that education might be the key in maybe our county. I believe that a lot of people were just like our neighborhood, sitting there unsuspecting, not really realizing what was going on in other counties. And we have a large population of people who have chicken barns and turkey barns. And for any number of decades, we have learned to coexist quite well with the chickens and the turkey barns. Yes, they produce waste, but it is a dry waste. It is sold, so whoever buys it is not going to buy any more than they actually need. And it is spread over thousands and thousands of acres to where it dissipates properly into the earth and the soil and the smell and everything. Yeah, there is a smell a little bit, but it's a dry waste. And so we've learned to live with that. So we've got a fraction of our community that lumps all CAFOs into one group. And so they feel like a health ordinance is an attack on the existing CAFOs or the existing farmers, which it isn't. An ordinance can protect you as severely or as leniently as your community wants your ordinance to read. It wouldn't necessarily have to affect any existing CAFO at all. It wouldn't necessarily even have to affect any dry waste. It could just simply be targeted for the wet waste, because that poses unique hazards to our specific area, because we have rolling hills, we have karst topography, we have shallow topsoil. You spread 8.4 million gallons of waste on 1,100 acres year after year, and you have downpours that you can't predict, and that water, that waste is going to go right down into the creeks. It's going to go right down into your groundwater. It is going to kill your fish. We've got the endangered species, the Topeka shiner, that flourishes in our creeks right there, 7/10 of a mile from that CAFO. And if that gets away just a very little bit, those endangered fish are going to be gone.
Okay. And so
education would be...
Education, it sounds like, could make a
I
difference.
think people just aren't aware. They
Right.
just do not have all the facts.
Yeah. Facts are good. And so, Tim, we have a minute.
You know, it's not only fighting CAFOs and fighting for local control. It's fighting for markets for independent producers to be able to sell their livestock into, and fighting for antitrust laws at the federal level to be enforced so that we have real capitalism and we have real markets, as opposed to markets that are controlled by, like Jeff said, increasingly controlled by not only multinational corporations but multinational foreign corporations. And I say that because the farther that control gets away from these type of operations, the less they care about the people that live there, the less they care about the water. The important thing is get involved. Call Missouri Rural Crisis Center. You can go to our website, morural.org, sign up to get involved. We're also a membership organization. Our members are our power, and we're a statewide organization. So join Missouri Rural Crisis Center, get involved. Our line's open. We're not going to stop because what we're up against is not based. They don't tell the truth, and we're here to figure out what the truth is. Listen to people instead of tell people. Listen to people, and make friends, and believe in our Missouri values, act upon those, and fight back against anything that's trying to infringe upon what we as Missourians believe in and are going to keep fighting for.
Well, it's an important issue, I think, and it does go to the heart of being what it means to be a Missourian, mm-hmm. and where we live. So I certainly appreciate you all being here and raising everybody's awareness out there. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.